I descended to the castle's entrance, my boots echoing on the worn stone steps, the air thick with the musty scent of centuries-old dust. Routine checks were my life now. Patrolling the crumbling halls, ensuring no vandals or curious kids slipped through the rusted gates. The castle, a forgotten relic of some long-dead lord, was my charge, my prison, my home. Just me, the shadows, and the occasional bat. That night, though, something shifted. A pulse of light flared beyond the iron-bound doors, sharp and unnatural, like a star had fallen right outside. I froze, my flashlight trembling in my grip. When I stepped toward it, everything came into focus. She stood there, framed by the arched doorway, bathed in a glow that didn't belong to this world. Her skin shimmered like molten silver, catching the moonlight in ways that made my eyes ache. Tall, too tall, with limbs that moved like they were underwater, graceful and wrong. Her eyes, God, those eyes swirled with colors I couldn't name, like galaxies trapped in glass. She wasn't human. No way she was human. Who the hell are you? I said, my voice cracking like the flagstones under my feet. My hand went to the old hunting knife at my belt, more out of habit than any real plan. I am Fux, she said, her voice a low hum that vibrated in my chest, like standing too close to a live wire. I am a scientist from a star your kind calls Kepler 442b. I study life. I study your world. And you, Randy, will teach me something my data cannot explain. I blinked, my brain stuttering. How do you know my name? I took a step back, the knife half drawn, though it felt useless against her. And what's this thing you can't explain? I'm just a guy who keeps this pile of rocks from falling apart. Her head tilted, a motion too smooth, too precise. Love, she said, the word sounding foreign in her mouth, like she was tasting it for the first time. Your species writes songs, builds monuments, wages wars for it. My instruments detect its presence in your chemical signatures, your neural patterns, but I do not understand it. You will show me. I laughed, a nervous bark that echoed off the stone walls. Lady, you've got the wrong guy. I'm a loner with a bad knee and a worse track record with women. Love? I barely know what it is myself. You are authentic, she said, stepping closer. Her presence was overwhelming, like the air itself was bending around her. Flawed. Human. My scans indicate you are ideal for this experiment. Her hand reached out, fingers grazing my arm. A jolt shot through me, not pain, but something electric, alive, like every nerve in my body woke up at once. Whoa, hold on. I yanked my arm back, heart pounding. You can't just show up in a damn light show and demand I teach you love. It's not a manual. It's not something you just do. Then simplify it, Fux said, her eyes flickering, a mix of curiosity and impatience. Take me to where humans feel this emotion. Show me its source. I rubbed my face, trying to process. The castle was my world. Cold, quiet, predictable. Now here was this alien, this thing, standing in my doorway, asking for the one thing I'd spent years avoiding. But those eyes, that voice, they pulled at something in me, something I thought I'd buried long ago. All right, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. But we're not doing this your way, with spaceships and scans. If you want to learn about love, you're going to see it the human way, messy, stupid, and probably disappointing. Fux's lips curved. Not quite a smile, more like she was mimicking one she'd seen in her data. Acceptable. Begin the experiment, Randy. I didn't know where to start. The castle was miles from anywhere, surrounded by dense forest and fog that never seemed to lift. The nearest town was a sleepy place, full of folks who kept to themselves. Not exactly a hotbed of romance. But then I thought of the old fairground, abandoned now, but once a place where people laughed, danced, maybe even fell in love under the colored lights. It was a start. Come on, I said, grabbing my jacket from the hook by the door. We're going for a walk? Fux followed, her steps silent, her glow dimming slightly as if she was trying to blend in. Fat chance of that. She was a walking anomaly, and I was the idiot leading her into the night. The forest was a maze of gnarled trees and shadows, the kind of place that felt alive in all the wrong ways. My flashlight cut through the darkness, but Fox didn't seem to need it. Her eyes glowed faintly, scanning the surroundings like she was reading a map I couldn't see. I kept my pace brisk, partly to stay warm, partly to keep my nerves in check. Every rustle in the underbrush made me jump, half expecting her spaceship to pop out of nowhere. So I said, desperate to fill the silence, "You're a scientist, huh? What's that like on, what did you call it? Kepler for 42b? My role is to observe, analyze, and catalog," she said, her voice steady despite the uneven ground. "We seek to understand the universe's complexities. Your planet is unusual, chaotic. Your emotions drive behaviors that defy logic. Love is the most perplexing." "Yeah, tell me about it," I muttered. I spent half my life chasing it, and the other half running from it. Doesn't make a lick of sense. "Explain," she said, her tone sharp, like she was recording every word that I sighed, kicking a stone out of path. "Love's like a fire. It warms you up, makes you feel alive, but get too close and it burns, leaves you with scars." I glanced at her, expecting confusion, but her eyes were locked on me, intense, like she was dissecting my soul. "Scars," she repeated, "a metaphor for damage. Yet humans seek this fire repeatedly. Why?" "Beats me," I said. "Maybe we're just dumb like that." She didn't laugh, didn't even blink, just kept walking, her presence a constant hum in the air. We reached the edge of the forest, where the old fairground lay sprawled under the stars. Rusted rides loomed like skeletons, the carousels faded horses frozen mid-gallop. The place was a ghost town, but I could still hear the echoes of music, laughter, the clink of bottles from nights long gone. "This is it," I said, stopping at the broken gate. "People used to come here, back when it was alive. They'd hold hands, steal kisses, make promises they couldn't keep. If you want to see love, this is where it happened." Fuck stepped past me, her gaze sweeping the ruins. "This place is decayed, yet it holds significance. Show me." I led her through the fairground, pointing out the spots where I remembered things. Kids sneaking off to the funhouse, couples swaying to music by the bandstand. I told her about the summer I was 17, sneaking beers with Jenny Caldwell under the Ferris wheel, thinking I was in love until she left town without a word. Fux listened, her head tilted, her questions sharp and relentless. Why did her departure cause pain, she asked. Was it not logical for her to pursue her own path? "It's not about logic," I said, leaning against a rusted game booth. "It's about feeling like you're enough for someone, then finding out you're not. That's love, hoping for something that might break you." Fux stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. "You speak of it as a weakness, yet your species venerates it. Contradictory." "Yeah, well, humans are walking contradictions," I said, shoving my hands in my pockets. "You'll see." She didn't respond, just moved toward the carousel, her fingers brushing the chipped paint of a horse's mane. "This place," she said, "it resonates. I detect echoes, emotional residue." She turned to me, her expression unreadable. "Take me inside one of these structures. I must experience it." I hesitated. The funhouse was the closest, its warped mirrors and sagging walls still intact. It was a creepy place, even in daylight, but something told me Fux wasn't the type to spook easy. "All right," I said, leading the way, "but don't blame me if it's a letdown." Inside, the air was stale, the mirrors reflecting distorted versions of us. My face stretched and twisted, but Fux, she looked the same, like the mirrors couldn't touch her. She moved from one to the next, her fingers tracing the glass, her eyes glowing brighter. "These distort reality," she said. "Is this how love feels? A distortion of truth?" I snorted. "You're not wrong. Love makes you see what you want, not what's real." She turned to me, her gaze piercing. "Then show me what is real, Randy. Show me your truth." My throat tightened. I didn't know what she wanted, not really. But standing there, in that haunted funhouse with an alien who saw right through me, I felt something stir, something I hadn't felt in years. Fear. Yeah, but also something warmer, dangerous, like the first spark of a fire. The funhouse smelled like mold and regret, the kind of place that made your skin crawl even without an alien trailing you. The warped mirrors threw back twisted versions of my face, too long, too wide, too much like the guy I was trying not to be. Fucks, though, she was untouched. Her reflection stayed perfect, like the mirrors didn't dare mess with her. She moved from one to the next, her fingers gliding over the glass, leaving faint trails of light that faded like dying fireflies. I watched her, my heart thudding too loud in the silence. "These distort reality," she said, her voice cutting through the stale air. "Is this how love feels? A distortion of truth?" I snorted, leaning against a sagging wall, the wood creaking under my weight. "You're not wrong. Love makes you see what you want, not what's real. Makes you think someone's perfect, then you wake up one day and they're gone, and you're left wondering what the hell you were looking at." She turned, her eyes locking onto mine, those swirling galaxies pinning me in place. "Then show me what is real, Randy. Show me your truth." My throat tightened, and I looked away, staring at my warped reflection instead. Truth? I didn't know what that was anymore. I'd spent years in this castle, hiding from the world, from myself. Love was a bruise I didn't touch, a scar I didn't show. But Fuchs wasn't asking, she was demanding, and something about her made me want to answer. "All right," I said, pushing off the wall. "But not here. This place is just shadows and echoes. If you want truth, we're going somewhere alive." She tilted her head, her not-quite smile flickering. "Where?" "The town," I said. "It's not much, but it's got people, real ones with all their mess. You want to see love, you'll see it there. Or, at least, you'll see what passes for it." Fuchs nodded, her glow dimming slightly, like she was trying to blend into the darkness. "Lead on, Randy." We left the funhouse, stepping back into the night. The fairground was still a graveyard of memories, the carousel horses staring blankly as we passed. The forest loomed ahead, its shadows thicker now, the air heavy with the scent of pine, and something sharper like ozone. Fuchs's presence seemed to charge the atmosphere, making the hairs on my arms stand up. I kept my flashlight steady, but I couldn't shake the feeling we weren't alone. Not her ship, not yet, something else, watching from the trees. "You feel that?" I asked, my voice low. Fuchs's eyes scanned the darkness, her head tilting like she was listening to something I couldn't hear. "Interference," she said. "A signal, faint but present. It is not my origin craft. It could be residual." "Residual?" I stopped, turning to her. "What's that supposed to mean? You got friends out there or something?" "My kind does not operate in groups," she said, her tone flat, but her eyes flickering. "I am solitary. But my technology may attract attention." "Great," I muttered, gripping my knife hilt tighter. "So, we're being stalked by alien paparazzi now?" She didn't laugh, didn't even blink, just kept moving, her steps silent on the forest floor. I hurried to keep up, my bad knee twinging with every step. The town wasn't far, maybe a mile, but the forest made it feel like another world. The path wound through twisted trees, their branches clawing at the sky. I told myself it was just nerves, but the air felt wrong, like it was holding its breath. When we reached the town's edge, the forest gave way to cracked pavement and flickering streetlights. The place was small, barely a dot on a map, Main Street with a diner, a bar, a hardware store, and a church that hadn't seen a full pew in years. It was the kind of place where everyone knew your name and your secrets, which was why I stayed in the castle. But tonight, I was here with an alien who wanted to learn about love, and I was starting to think I'd lost my mind. "This is it," I said, stopping under a buzzing street lamp. "Welcome to Nowhere Special. You want to see humans? They're here, eating, drinking, fighting, maybe loving. Pick your poison." Fuchs's gaze swept the street, her eyes glowing faintly as she scanned. "This place is dense with signals, emotional frequencies. I detect joy, anger, sorrow. Show me love specifically." I sighed, rubbing my neck. "It's not like it's labeled, Fuchs. Look, let's start at the diner. People talk there, laugh, sometimes hold hands over bad coffee. It's as close to love as you'll get around here." She followed me to the diner, its neon sign flickering marges in red and blue. The bell jingled as we stepped inside, and every head turned. Old Marge behind the counter froze mid-pour, coffee sloshing onto the counter. A couple of truckers at the bar stool stared, their forks halfway to their mouths. I couldn't blame them. Fux was a vision, her silver skin catching the light, her movements too smooth, too other. I tugged my jacket tighter, wishing I could disappear. "Evening, Marge," I said, forcing a grin, just passing through. Marge's eyes narrowed, flicking between me and Fux. "Randy, who's your friend?" "This is, Fux," I said, wincing as the name left my mouth. "She's visiting." Fux tilted her head, mimicking my grin in a way that was both creepy and oddly charming. "I am here to observe," she said, her voice humming through the room. The truckers exchanged looks, and I felt my stomach twist. "Let's grab a booth," I muttered, steering her toward the back. We slid into a cracked vinyl seat, the table sticky with years of spilled syrup. Fux sat ramrod straight, her eyes scanning the room like a predator sizing up prey. "Observe," she said, nodding at a couple in the corner, a young guy with a mullet and a girl in a denim jacket, their hands tangled across the table. "Is this love?" I glanced over. The guy was laughing, the girl blushing as she swiped a fry for his plate. It looked easy, natural, the kind of thing I hadn't felt in years. "Maybe," I said. "Looks like it, at least." "They're happy, comfortable. That's part of it." "Part?" Fux's eyes locked onto mine, intense. "Explain the whole." I leaned back, the vinyl squeaking. "Love's not one thing. It's the way you feel when you're with someone who gets you. The way you do anything to keep them safe, even if it hurts. It's stupid promises and late nights and knowing you're screwed, but not caring." Her head tilted, her fingers tapping the table, leaving faint sparks. "You speak from experience. Tell me." I froze, my jaw tightening. "That's not part of the deal, Fux. You want to learn, watch them." I nodded at the couple, but her gaze didn't waver. "Your data is relevant," she said. "Your pain is data. Share it." I wanted to tell her to back off, to take her glowing eyes and her spaceship, and leave me alone. But something in her voice, that low hum, pulled at me. I sighed, staring at the table. "Fine. Her name was Clara. We were together a long time ago. Thought we'd get married, have a kid, the whole deal. Then she left. Said I wasn't enough. That's it. That's my big love story." Fux's eyes flickered, like she was processing. "You felt pain because she rejected your sufficiency. Yet you still value this emotion?" I laughed, bitter. "Value it? I don't know. It's just there. Like gravity. You don't choose it, it just pulls." She leaned closer, her face inches from mine. "Show me this pull, Randy. I must feel it." Before I could answer, the diner's lights flickered, plunging us into darkness for a split second. A low hum vibrated through the room, not from Fux this time, something outside. The truckers swore. Marge dropped a plate, and the couple in the corner stopped laughing. I grabbed Fux's arm, my heart racing. What the hell was that? Her eyes glowed brighter, scanning the windows. "Interference. Stronger now. Something is tracking my signal." "Something." I hissed, standing up. "You said you were alone." "I am," she said, but her voice wavered just a fraction. "This is unexpected." The lights flickered again, and outside a shadow moved, too big, too fast. The diner's windows rattled, and I felt that ozone smell again, sharp and electric. Whatever was out there, it wasn't human, and it wasn't friendly. "Randy," Fux said, her hand gripping mine, her touch sparking against my skin. "We must move. Now." The diner's windows rattled again, the hum outside growing louder, like a swarm of bees trapped in a metal box. My grip on Fux's arm tightened, her skin cool and smooth under my fingers, sparking like static. The truckers were on their feet now, cursing and peering out the windows, while Marge clutched a spatula like it was a weapon. The couple in the corner huddled closer, their fries forgotten. Whatever was out there, it wasn't just a power surge. "Fux," I whispered, my voice barely steady, "what's tracking you? And don't give me that interference crap. Level with me." Her eyes, those swirling galaxies, flicked to mine, and for the first time, I saw something like uncertainty in them. "I do not know," she said, her voice low but sharp. My craft signal is encrypted, designed to be undetectable. But something has locked onto it. Something advanced. Advanced. I hissed, pulling her toward the back door. Like, what, another alien? Or some government spook with a satellite? She didn't answer, just followed me, her movements silent and fluid despite the chaos. The diner's lights flickered again, plunging us into darkness for a heartbeat before stuttering back on. Outside, the shadow moved again, big, angular, not human. It wasn't a person, wasn't a vehicle. It was something else, something that made my gut twist. Randy! Marge's voice cut through the noise. What the hell's going on? You bring trouble here? No time to explain. I shouted, shoving open the back door. The alley behind the diner was narrow, littered with trash cans and broken bottles, the air thick with the smell of grease and damp concrete. I dragged Fucks into the shadows, my heart pounding like a jackhammer. Stay low. I told her, though she didn't need the advice, she was already crouched, her eyes scanning the night like a predator. The hum followed us, louder now, vibrating in my bones. I risked a glance back and saw it. A shape hovering just above the street, a dark, sleek thing that didn't reflect light, so much as swallow it. No wings, no rotors, just a smooth, impossible mass that seemed to bend the air around it. My mouth went dry. Fucks, is that one of yours? No, she said, her voice clipped. It is not of my origin. It is other. Other? I grabbed her shoulder, forcing her to look at me. You're an alien and that's not yours? What the hell does that mean? Her eyes flickered, a storm of colors. There are others in the cosmos, Randy. Not all are scientists. Not all are benign. I swore under my breath, my mind racing. Aliens chasing aliens, and me stuck in the middle with a knife and a bad knee. Perfect. We need to move, I said, pulling her down the alley. There's a church a few blocks over. Old, quiet, good place to hide. You got any tricks up your sleeve to keep that thing off us? Fux's hand moved to a small device at her waist, a flat, obsidian disc that pulsed faintly. I can disrupt its tracking, but it will not last. We must find shelter and recalibrate. Recalibrate? I said, half running now, my boots splashing through puddles. You sound like you're fixing a radio, not dodging a damn UFO. She didn't respond, just matched my pace, her glow dimming to almost nothing. The church loomed ahead, its steeple a dark silhouette against the starry sky. The building was ancient, its stone walls cracked, but solid. The kind of place that felt like it could withstand the end of the world. Maybe it would have to. We slipped through a side door, the wood creaking as I pushed it shut behind us. Inside, the air was cool and heavy, smelling of wax and old hymnals. Stained glass windows cast faint colors across the pews, and the silence was almost oppressive after the hum outside. I leaned against the door, catching my breath, while Fucks moved to the center of the aisle, her eyes scanning the rafters. Safe now, I said, wiping sweat from my brow. But you need to start talking. What's after you and why is it here? She turned to me, her expression unreadable. I am a collector of knowledge. My mission is to understand life, to catalog its forms. But knowledge is coveted. There are those who seek to control it, to weaponize it. This pursuer may be one of them. Weaponize? I said, my voice echoing in the empty church. You're telling me someone's hunting you because you're studying love? That's insane. Love is not merely an emotion, she said, stepping closer. Her voice dropped, almost a whisper. It is energy, a force. My people have lost the ability to generate it. Without it, our civilization weakens. I was sent to learn, to bring it back. But others, they would take it, use it, destroy it. I stared at her, my mind reeling. Love as a cosmic power source? It sounded like something out of a bad sci-fi flick. But those eyes, that voice, they made it real. So what, you're saying love's like alien gasoline? Her head tilted, processing the metaphor. Imprecise, but not incorrect. Your species generates this energy in abundance, yet you waste it. I must understand how it is created, sustained. You must show me. I laughed, a hollow sound that bounced off the stone walls. Fucks, I'm the last guy you should be asking. I told you about Clara. That's my big contribution to the Love Story Hall of Fame. A whole lot of nothing. She stepped closer, too close, her glow flickering like a candle. You are wrong, she said. Your pain is data. Your memories are data. Tell me more. Tell me of Clara. I backed up, my boots scuffing the floor. Why do you keep pushing this? You want to know about love? Go watch those kids in the diner. I'm done with that part of my life. Your resistance is part of the data, she said, her voice firm but not unkind. You cannot teach me if you hide. Tell me of Clara. What did she mean to you? I sank onto a pew, the wood creaking under me. My hands clenched, unclenched, the old ache in my chest stirring. Fine, I said, staring at the altar, its cross glinting faintly in the moonlight. Clara was everything for a while. We met when I was 20, working at a garage in another town. She was a waitress, always smiling, always making people feel like they mattered. I fell hard. Thought she did too. Fuck sat beside me. Her presence a strange mix of cold and warm, like a star you could touch. What did it feel like, this falling? I rubbed my face, the memory sharp as broken glass. Like flying and drowning at the same time. I'd do anything to see her smile, fix her car for free, stay up all night talking about nothing. We had plans, you know? A house, kids, the whole stupid dream. But then she started pulling away, said she needed more, needed someone who could give her the world. I wasn't enough. She left and I broke. Fux's eyes flickered, analyzing. Broke. Yet you continue. Why? I shrugged, my throat tight. What else am I going to do? You keep going. You find something to hold on to. For me, it's the castle. It's quiet, safe. No one leaves you when you're already alone. She reached out, her fingers brushing my hand, sending that electric jolt through me again. You are not alone now, she said, her voice softer, almost human. I am here. Teach me this feeling, Randy. Teach me to fly and drown. I pulled my hand back, my heart racing. You don't get it. Fucks. It's not something you can just learn. It's messy, painful. You sure you want that? I must, she said, her eyes steady. For my people. For myself. Before I could respond, the church's windows rattled. The hum returning, louder, closer. Dust drifted from the rafters, and the air grew heavy with that ozone smell. I jumped to my feet, my knife out now, useless as it was. It's back, I said. Whatever's after you, it's here. Fuck stood, her disc device glowing brighter. We cannot stay. It is locking onto my signal again. We must reach my craft. Your craft? I said, following her to the door. Where the hell is it? Near your castle, she said, already moving. It is cloaked, but I can guide us. Hurry. We slipped out of the church. The night colder now, the stars hidden by a strange rippling haze. The hum was everywhere, pressing against my skull. I saw it again, that dark shape hovering low over the town, its edges blurring like a heat mirage. My legs burned as we ran, cutting through backyards and empty lots, the forest looming ahead. Fux moved like a ghost, never faltering, while I stumbled, my knees screaming. Fux, I panted, grabbing her arm as we reached the treeline. If we get to your ship, what then? You gonna fight that thing? She turned, her eyes blazing. I will not fight. I will flee. My mission is too important to risk. And what about me? I said, my voice sharper than I meant. You dragged me into this, and now I'm running from some alien death machine. What's my part in your big plan? She paused, her glow softening. You are essential. Your data, your truth, it is what I need. I will protect you, Randy. I wanted to argue, to tell her I didn't need protecting, but the hum grew louder and the ground shook beneath us. Fine, I said. Let's get to your ship. But if we survive this, you owe me a damn beer. Her lips twitched, almost a smile. Agreed. The forest was a nightmare of shadows and snapping branches, my flashlight barely cutting through the fog. Fux led the way, her device pulsing in her hand, guiding us back toward the castle. My lungs burned, my knee throbbed, but I kept moving, driven by adrenaline and the growing realization that I was in way over my head. The hum followed us, sometimes close, sometimes fading, like a predator playing with its prey. We reached the castle's outer wall, its stones looming like sentinels. Fuck stopped, her device emitting a soft chime. "Here," she said, pressing her hand against the air. A shimmer rippled, and her craft appeared, a sleek, obsidian thing like a polished stone that drank the light. It was smaller than I'd expected, barely bigger than a van, but it hummed with power, making my teeth ache. "Get in," she said, a hatch sliding open soundlessly. I hesitated, staring at the dark interior. This was it, no going back. I was about to step onto an alien ship with a woman who wasn't a woman, chased by something I couldn't comprehend. My old life, the quiet of the castle, was gone. "Randy," Fuck said, her voice urgent but steady. "Trust me." I met her eyes, those swirling galaxies, and something in me shifted. Maybe it was fear, maybe it was something else, something warmer, dangerous. "All right," I said, stepping inside, "but don't make me regret this." The hatch closed behind us, and the hum outside faded, replaced by a softer, rhythmic pulse. The interior was smooth, featureless, lit by a faint blue glow. Fux moved to a console that appeared from nowhere, her fingers dancing over invisible controls. The ship vibrated, and I felt a lurch, like my stomach was trying to catch up with the rest of me. "We are moving," Fux said, her eyes fixed on the console. "The pursuer is close, but I have activated a cloaking field. It will buy us time." "Time for what?" I said, gripping a smooth wall for balance. "You gonna take me to your planet or something?" "No," she said, glancing at me. "We remain on your world. I need more data, more of your truth. We will go to a place where love is concentrated. Your records speak of a city, one of light and excess, a place of heightened emotion." I groaned, rubbing my face. "You're talking about Vegas, aren't you? I told you that's not love. It's glitter and bad decisions." "Then show me the difference," she said, her voice firm. "Show me what is real." The ship lurched again, and a screen materialized, showing the forest shrinking below us. The dark shape was still out there, circling like a shark. My heart pounded, but Fux's calm was infectious. I sank into a seat that formed beneath me, my mind spinning. Vegas. Aliens. Love. I was either dreaming or doomed. "Fux," I said, my voice quieter now. "If we're doing this, you need to tell me everything. What's after you, and what happens if it catches us?" She turned, her eyes softening just a fraction. "If it catches us, my mission fails. My people fail, and you may not survive, but I will not let that happen, Randy. You are my guide, my anchor." I swallowed hard, the word hitting me like a punch. Anchor. I hadn't been that for anyone, not since Clara. Maybe not even then. But looking at Fux, her glow filling the ship, I felt that spark again, the one I'd buried in the castle's shadows. "All right," I said, leaning back. "Vegas it is. But if we're gonna do this, you're learning my way. No scans, no data. Just you, me, and the messiest parts of being human." Her lips curved, a real smile this time, or as close as she could get. "Agreed, Randy. Let us begin." The ship's hum was a steady pulse, like a heartbeat I could feel in my bones, but it did nothing to quiet the chaos in my head. I sat in the seat that had shaped itself to me, like it knew every ache in my back, and stared at the screen in front of us. The world below blurred, dark swaths of forest giving way to open fields, then a sudden explosion of light, a city that glittered like a spilled jewelry box. Towers of color and movement stretched out, alive in a way that made my chest tighten. I'd seen places like this before, back when I was young and stupid, chasing dreams with Clara. But this felt different, unreal, like we'd slipped into a painting. Fux stood at the console, her fingers dancing over invisible controls, her silver skin catching the blue glow of the ship's interior. Her eyes were fixed on the screen, but I could tell she was processing more than just the view. Her head tilted slightly, like she was listening to a song I couldn't hear. "So, this is your City of Lights," I said, leaning forward, my voice rougher than I meant. "You sure this is where you're gonna crack the code on love? This place is more about losing your shirt at a card table than finding your soulmate." She turned, her galaxy eyes pinning me in place. Your records describe this as a nexus of human emotion, she said, her voice that low hum that made my skin prickle. Desire, risk, connection, it is all here. I will observe, analyze. You will guide. I snorted, rubbing my neck. Guide? I'm barely keeping up. And that thing chasing us. What's the plan if it shows up here? You got a laser or something in this fancy ship? Fux's lips twitched, almost a smile. My craft is not equipped for combat. It is for observation. But I can evade, conceal. The pursuer will struggle to track us in a place this chaotic. Chaotic's one word for it. I muttered, glancing at the screen. The city was closer now, its lights pulsing like a living thing. All right, let's say we land. What's next? You gonna walk into a casino and start scanning people's brains for love vibes? I will observe, she said, her tone sharp but curious. You will show me the behaviors, the rituals. The data is in the details, Randy. I sighed, slumping back in the seat. You're gonna be disappointed. This place, it's all flash. People come here to escape, not to feel something real. Then show me what is real, she said, stepping closer. Her presence was overwhelming, like standing too close to fire, warm, dangerous, impossible to ignore. You spoke of Clara, of pain. That is real. Show me more. My jaw tightened, the old ache stirring again. You don't let up, do you? I told you about Clara. That's enough. It is not, she said, her eyes flickering. Your pain is a map. I need to follow it to understand. I wanted to tell her to back off, to leave my scars alone, but the way she looked at me, like she could see right through my bullshit, made it hard to lie. Fine, I said, my voice low, but not here. Not in this flying tin can. Let's get out there, blend in. You want data? You'll get it, but it's gonna be messy. She nodded, her almost smile returning. Acceptable. Prepare for descent. The ship dipped, a smooth drop that made my stomach lurch. The screen showed us skimming over rooftops, the city's glow swallowing us whole. Fux's craft was invisible, cloaked in whatever alien tech she had, but I still felt exposed like that dark shape, whatever it was, could see us. The hum from before was gone, but the memory of it lingered, a weight in my chest. We landed in an empty lot on the city's edge, the ship settling with a soft thud. The hatch opened, and the air rushed in, thick with the smell of asphalt and neon. I stepped out, my boots crunching on gravel, and Fux followed, her glow dimmed to a faint shimmer. She looked almost human in the half-light, but her movements, too smooth, too precise, gave her away. Stick close, I said, scanning the lot. This place is a zoo, and you're not exactly inconspicuous. She tilted her head, mimicking my posture in a way that was both creepy and kind of endearing. I will adapt, she said. Lead, Randy. We headed toward the heart of the city, the lights growing brighter, the noise louder, music, laughter, the clatter of coins and shouts of drunk tourists. The streets were alive, packed with people chasing something they'd never catch. I led Fux down a main strip, where signs blazed with promises of quick cash and quicker thrills. Couples walked hand in hand, some giddy, some fighting, their voices blending into a chaotic hum. Fux's eyes were everywhere, scanning, analyzing, her device pulsing faintly at her waist. This is overwhelming, she said, pausing to watch a street performer juggle fire. So many signals. Joy, greed, despair. How do you isolate love in this? You don't, I said, steering her around a group of stumbling drunks. It's tangled up in everything else. That's what makes it so damn hard. We stopped outside a place with a glowing sign that screamed Chapel of Eternal Vows. Through the window, I could see a couple in tacky outfits, laughing as a guy in a bad suit married them under a neon heart. Fux's eyes locked onto them, her device humming louder. This ritual, she said, stepping closer to the glass. They bind themselves. Why? I shrugged, watching the couple kiss, their faces lit up with something that looked real, at least for now. They think it's forever. Sometimes it is. Mostly, it's just hope dressed up in sequins. Hope, she repeated, her voice soft, an expectation of positive outcomes, despite uncertainty. Is this love? Part of it, I said, my throat tight. Come on, let's go inside. You want data? This is as raw as it gets. The chapel smelled like cheap perfume and desperation, the air thick with the buzz of fluorescent lights. The officiant, a guy with a pompadour and a fake tan, gave us a skeptical look as we walked in. "You two here to tie the knot?" he asked, eyeing Fucks like she was a walking jackpot. "Nah," I said, forcing a grin. "Just browsing." Fucks moved to the front, where the couple was signing papers, their laughter echoing. She watched them like they were a science experiment, her eyes glowing faintly. "They are happy," she said. "Their chemical signatures, oxytocin, dopamine, are elevated. Is this the energy I seek?" "Maybe," I said, leaning against the pew. "But it's not just chemicals. It's the way they look at each other like nothing else matters. That's what you're missing." She turned to me, her gaze piercing. "Then show me that look, Randy. Show me how it feels." My heart skipped, and I looked away, pretending to study the tacky decor. Plastic flowers, a velvet Elvis painting. "I don't have that look anymore," I said. "Not since Clara." "Tell me more of her," Fucks said, stepping closer. "You resist, but your resistance is data. What did Clara give you that you cannot find again?" I clenched my fists, the memory hitting like a punch. She made me feel seen, like I wasn't just some nobody fixing cars. When she laughed, it was like the world made sense. But then she left, and I realized it was all a lie. I wasn't enough for her, and I never would be. Fucks's eyes flickered, analyzing. "You equate love with sufficiency. Yet you continue despite this loss. Why?" I laughed, bitter, the sound echoing in the chapel. "Because I'm stubborn, I guess. Or stupid. Take your pick." Before she could respond, the lights flickered, and that damn hum was back low, insistent, vibrating through the floor. The couple stopped laughing, the officiant froze, and I grabbed Fucks's arm. "It's here," I said, my voice tight. "Whatever's after you, it found us." Her device pulsed, her eyes scanning the room. "The signal is stronger," she said. "It has adapted to my cloaking. We must move." We bolted out the back door, into an alley lined with overflowing dumpsters. The hum grew louder, and I saw it again, that dark shape hovering above the rooftops, its edges blurring like a nightmare. My heart pounded as I dragged Fucks toward a crowded street, hoping the chaos would hide us. People pushed past, oblivious, their voices drowning out the hum, but not the fear clawing at my chest. "Fucks," I said, pulling her into a doorway. "You need to tell me what that thing is. No more vague answers. If I'm running for my life, I deserve to know why." She hesitated, her glow dimming. "It is a collector like me, but not of my kind. They seek knowledge, but not to understand, to control. If they capture me, they will extract my data, my mission. They will use love as a weapon." "A weapon?" I said, my mind reeling. "You're saying some alien psycho wants to turn love into a bomb?" "Not a bomb," she said, her voice steady but urgent. "A force, a means to manipulate, to dominate. My people need love to survive. Others would use it to destroy." I swore under my breath, my head spinning, and I thought my breakup was bad. "All right, what's the plan? Your ship's cloaked, but that thing's still on us." "We must disrupt its tracking," she said, holding up her device. "I can emit a pulse, but it will drain my craft's power. We will be grounded until I can recalibrate." "Grounded?" I said, glancing at the sky. The shape was closer now, its hum rattling my teeth. "Fine, do it. But we need cover, somewhere busy. There's a place up the street, a casino, loud, packed. We can lose it there." She nodded, her fingers moving over the device. A low pulse shot out, invisible but heavy, like a shockwave. The hum faltered and the shape veered, wobbling like it was drunk. "It is disoriented," Fuck said. "Go now." We ran, weaving through crowds, the city's lights a dizzying blur. The casino was a monster of a building, its entrance flashing with signs promising riches and ruin. Inside, it was a sensory assault, slot machines chiming, dealers shouting, music pulsing. I pulled Fucks through the chaos, her glow barely noticeable in the neon haze. We found a corner near a roulette table, the air thick with cigarette smoke and desperation. "All right," I said, catching my breath. "We're here. Now what?" You want to play slots while we wait for your ship to recharge? Fux's eyes scanned the room, her device still pulsing faintly. I will observe, she said. This place is rich with emotion. Show me love here. I laughed, shaking my head. Love? In a casino? You'll find lust, greed, maybe a drunk proposal or two. But love? That's rare. Then find it, she said, her voice firm. Show me something real, Randy. I sighed, scanning the crowd. There, an old couple at a blackjack table, their hands brushing as they shared a stack of chips. They weren't flashy, weren't young, but the way they leaned into each other, the way he smiled when she won, it was something. There, I said, nodding. That's closer to love than anything else here. They're in it together, win or lose. Fux watched them, her eyes glowing. They are synchronized. Their signals align. Is this what you felt with Clara? My chest tightened, and I looked away. Yeah, for a while. Until it fell apart. Tell me, she said, stepping closer, her voice soft but insistent. What broke it? I leaned against the wall, the casino's noise fading to a dull roar. Clara wanted more than me, more than our little life. I worked late, saved every penny, but it wasn't enough. She met someone else, someone who could give her the world. She left a note, said she was sorry, but sorry doesn't fix a broken heart. Fux's hand brushed mine, her touch sparking again, warm and electric. You carry this pain, she said, yet you guide me. Why? I met her eyes, those swirling galaxies, and felt something shift, something I couldn't name. Because you asked, I said, my voice rough. Because maybe I'm tired of hiding. Her lips curved, a real smile this time, and for a moment the casino, the hum, the danger, it all faded. Then the lights flickered, and the hum returned, louder, closer. The crowd didn't notice, but I did. I grabbed Fux's arm, my heart racing. It's back, I said. Your pulse didn't hold. She checked her device, her expression tightening. The collector has adapted. We must return to my craft. Now. We pushed through the crowd, the hum growing louder, the air heavy with that ozone smell. Outside, the shape was visible again, hovering low, its edges rippling. I ran. Fux beside me, her glow flaring as we headed for the lot where her ship waited. My knees screamed, my lungs burned, but I didn't stop. Not with that thing closing in. We reached the lot, the ship shimmering into view as Fux activated her device. The hatch opened, and we dove inside, the hum deafening now. The ship vibrated, lifting off just as a beam of light, sharp, blinding, cut through the air where we'd been standing. I hit the floor, my breath ragged as Fux sealed the hatch. It's shooting at us. I shouted, scrambling to my feet. You said it wasn't combat ready. It is not, she said, her fingers flying over the console. But the collector is. We must evade, find a new location. Somewhere quiet, where I can repair my systems. Quiet, I said, gripping the seat as the ship lurched. Where the hell's that gonna be? She turned, her eyes steady despite the chaos. Your castle, Randy. It is isolated, defensible. We will go there. I stared at her, the irony hitting hard. I'd spent years in that castle to escape the world, and now I was bringing an alien war back to it. Fine, I said, my voice tight, but if we're going home, you're telling me everything. No more secrets. Agreed, she said, her smile faint but real. And you, Randy, will show me more of your truth. The ship shot upward, the city's lights shrinking below, the collector's beam slicing the night behind us. I didn't know it was coming, but for the first time in years, I felt alive, scared, sure, but alive. And Fux, with her glowing eyes and impossible questions, was the reason. The ship's interior was a cocoon of blue light. But it didn't feel safe, not with that collector thing chasing us, its beams slicing through the night like a blade. I gripped the seat, my knuckles white as Fux worked the console, her fingers a blur over controls I couldn't even see. The screen showed the city's lights fading below, swallowed by the dark sprawl of forest. We were heading back to the castle. My castle, the one place I'd thought was mine, untouchable. Now it was about to become a battleground. Fux, I said, my voice hoarse from shouting over the ship's hum. You said no more secrets. What's this collector? And don't give me that knowledge for control line again. I need specifics. Is it a ship? A robot? Another one of you? She didn't look at me, her eyes locked on the console, but her voice was steady, like she was reading from a script. It is a construct, she said. Not organic, not like me. My kind are explorers, seekers of understanding. The collector is artificial, created by a faction that trades in power, not knowledge. It seeks my data to harness the energy of your emotions, love, specifically for their own ends. Harness, I said, leaning forward, my bad knee twinging as I shifted. You keep saying love's an energy. What, like a battery? They gonna plug it into their death ray? Or something? Her lips twitched. That almost smile I was starting to know too well. Your analogies are imprecise. Love is a frequency, a force that resonates in your species. My people have lost this resonance. Without it, we weaken, fade. The collector's creators would use it to manipulate, to control entire systems. They are not benign. I rubbed my face, trying to wrap my head around it. So, we're running from a cosmic Roomba that wants to suck up your love data to take over the galaxy. Great. And your plan is to hide in my castle? The castle is isolated, she said, her fingers pausing on the console. Its structure is old, dense with stone. It will disrupt the collector's sensors. I can repair my craft, strengthen its cloaking. We will be safe there for a time. For a time, I echoed, slumping back. And then what? We can't hide forever. She turned to me, her galaxy eyes glowing softly. Then you will teach me, Randy. I must complete my mission. I must understand love, bring its knowledge to my people. You are my guide. I laughed, a bitter sound that echoed in the ship's tight space. You keep saying that, but I'm no guide. I'm a guy who guards a crumbling pile of rocks because it's easier than dealing with the world. You want love? I'm the last person to ask. You are wrong, she said, stepping closer, her presence like a static charge. Your pain, your memories, they are the map I need. You have felt love, and you have lost it. That is why you are essential. Her words hit harder than I expected, stirring that old ache in my chest. Clara's face flashed in my mind. Her smile, the way she'd hum off key while cooking breakfast. I pushed it down, focusing on the now. Fine, I said. We'll hole up in the castle. But if that thing shows up, you'd better have more than a cloaking device to save our asses. She nodded, her almost smile returning. I will protect you, Randy, and you will teach me. The ship shuddered, descending through the forest canopy. The castle loomed on the screen, its towers jagged against the starry sky. We landed in the courtyard, the ship's cloak shimmering as it blended into the shadows. The hatch opened, and the cold night air hit me, sharp with the smell of moss and stone. I stepped out, my boots crunching on gravel, Fux following like a ghost, her glow dim but unmistakable. Inside the castle, the air was heavy, familiar, like stepping into my own skin. The great hall stretched before us, its walls lined with faded tapestries and rusted armor. I led Fux to the old armory, a room I'd turned into a makeshift workshop, cluttered with tools and spare parts for my days as a mechanic. This is it, I said, dropping my jacket on a table. You fix your ship, I'll check the defenses. This place has some old tricks, trapdoors, hidden passages. Might come in handy. Fux set her device on the table, its pulse faint but steady. I will need time, she said, her eyes scanning the room. The collector's interference damaged my systems. I must recalibrate. How long? I asked, grabbing a flashlight and a crowbar from the pile. Several hours, she said. Perhaps more. Keep watch, Randy. If the collector approaches, I will sense it. I nodded, heading for the ramparts. The castle was a maze, built to withstand sieges, and I knew every inch, every loose stone, every creaky stair. I checked the gates, the windows, the old iron grates that could drop to block the entrances. It wasn't much, but it was something. As I worked, my mind kept drifting to Fux, to her questions about love, to the way her touch sparked something in me. I didn't want to name that, but by the time I got back to the armory, Fux was deep in her work, her hands moving over the device like it was alive. The ship was outside, cloaked but faintly visible to me now, its edges shimmering in the moonlight. I leaned against the doorframe, watching her. "You look like you're performing surgery," I said. She didn't look up, but her voice was calm. "This craft is an extension of me. Its systems are complex, but they respond to my intent. Like your heart responds to emotion." I snorted, crossing my arms. "My heart's been out of commission for a while. Fucks, you're barking up the wrong tree." She paused, turning to me, her eyes glowing softly. "You lied to yourself. I see it in your signals, your pulse, your neural patterns. You feel even now. Tell me, Randy, what is it like to feel love?" I shifted, uncomfortable, the crowbar heavy in my hand. "You don't give up, do you? All right, fine. It's like standing on the edge of a cliff. You're scared, but you jump anyway because the fall feels like flying. Until you hit the ground." Her head tilted, processing. "And Clara was your ground?" I winced, the memory sharp. "Yeah, she was the jump, the flight, and the crash. I thought we had something real, but she needed more. Someone better. I don't blame her, not anymore. I just stopped jumping." Fuck stepped closer, her glow warming the air between us. "Yet you are here with me. You jump now, do you not?" I laughed, shaking my head. "This ain't a jump, fucks. This is me getting dragged into your cosmic mess." Her hand touched mine, cool and electric, sending a jolt through me. "You are not dragged. You choose. Why?" I pulled back, my heart racing. "I don't know, okay? Maybe because you're the first thing in years that's made me feel something. Maybe I'm just tired of being alone." She studied me, her eyes unblinking. "This feeling, this is love?" I opened my mouth to argue, but the words caught. Before I could answer, a low hum vibrated through the castle, rattling the armor on the walls. My stomach dropped. "Fucks," I said, gripping the crowbar. "Tell me that's your ship." Her device flared, her eyes narrowing. "It is not. The collector is here." I swore, running to the window. Outside, the courtyard was dark, but I saw it, a shadow moving against the stars, that light-swallowing shape, bigger now, closer. Its hum was a physical thing, pressing against my skull. "What do we do?" I said, turning to her. "Your ship's not ready, is it?" "Not yet," she said, her voice calm but tight. "We must delay it. Your castle, its defenses, can they hold?" I grinned. Despite the fear, this place was built to stop armies. Let's see how it handles an alien Roomba. We moved fast, me leading her through the castle's maze to the main gate. I showed her the old mechanisms, iron grates, trapdoors, even a pit I'd found years ago hidden under the courtyard. "If that thing tries to land," I said, "we can drop it into the pit. Buy us some time." Fuchs nodded, her device pulsing faster. "I will amplify my craft's signal, draw it here. You activate the defenses." We split up, me cranking levers in the gatehouse, her working her tech in the armory. The hum grew louder, the air thick with ozone. I saw the collector descend, its shape blotting out the stars, its beam sweeping the courtyard like a searchlight. My hands shook as I pulled the first lever, dropping a grate that sealed the main entrance. The collector paused, its beam flickering like it was confused. "Randy," Fuchs's voice echoed from below. "It is scanning. Prepare the trap." I ran to the courtyard, my knees screaming, and found the hidden trigger, a stone slab I'd rigged years ago for fun, never thinking I'd use it. The collector hovered closer, its beam cutting through the fog, and I waited, heart pounding, until it was right above the pit. I slammed the slab down, and the ground opened, a yawning mouth of stone and darkness. The collector wobbled, caught in the sudden drop, but it didn't fall. It adjusted, its beam slicing toward me. I dove behind a wall, the beam scorching the stone where I'd been. "Fucks," I shouted, scrambling back. "Your turn." Her glow appeared, bright as a star, and a pulse shot from her device, a wave of energy that hit the collector like a fist. It spun, its hum faltering, and crashed into the pit, the impact shaking the castle. I ran to her, grabbing her arm. "Did we get it?" She shook her head, her eyes scanning the darkness. "It is damaged but not destroyed. We must reach my craft." We sprinted to the armory, the ship shimmering into view as we approached. Fux opened the hatch, and we dove inside, the hum returning, weaker but still there. She worked the console, her fingers a blur, and the ship lifted off, the castle shrinking below. The collector was climbing out of the pit, its shape flickering, but we were already gone, streaking through the night. Where now? I said, my breath ragged. We can't keep running. Fux turned to me, her eyes steady. We will not run. I have recalibrated. My craft can emit a signal to disable the collector, but it will drain all power. We will be stranded but safe. Stranded. I said, my heart sinking. Where? Here, she said, the screen showing a vast, dark landscape, forest maybe, or plains. Your world. I will complete my mission with you. I stared at her, the weight of it hitting me. And then what? You go back to your planet, and I'm back to my castle alone. Her hand touched mine, warm now, not just electric. I do not know, Randy, but I choose to stay for now, to learn, with you. The ship landed, soft as a whisper, in a clearing surrounded by shadows. The hum was gone, the collector disabled, at least for now. We stepped outside, the air cool and quiet, the stars bright above. Fux stood beside me, her glow soft, her eyes on the sky. All right, I said, my voice steady for the first time in hours. You want to learn love? Let's start here. No scans, no data. Just us. She turned to me, her smile real, human. Agreed, Randy. Show me. The days that followed were strange, like living in a dream I didn't want to wake from. Fux's ship was grounded, its power spent, but she didn't seem to mind. We set up camp in the clearing, using the castle's supplies I'd hauled from my old life. She worked on her device, tweaking it to send a signal to her people, but most of her time was spent with me, watching, listening, asking questions that cut too deep. I showed her the little things, cooking over a fire, telling stories about the stars, even teaching her to laugh, though her version was more like a hum that made my heart skip. She tried to mimic me, her hand brushing mine, her eyes softening when I talked about Clara, about the man I'd been before the castle. And slowly I started to see her, not as an alien, but as Fux, a being who wanted to understand, who chose me when she could have left Point one night. Under a sky thick with stars, she sat close, her glow blending with the firelight. Randy, she said, her voice soft, I have learned much. Your pain, your hope, their love. You give it, even when it hurts. This is what my people need. I looked at her, my chest tight. And what about you, Fux? What do you need? She paused, her eyes swirling, then reached for my hand. I need this, she said, her fingers warm, no longer sparking, to feel with you. I didn't pull away this time. I held her hand, the weight of years falling away. Then stay, I said. Not for your mission, not for your people. For you. She smiled a real, human smile and nodded. I choose you, Randy. Her device chimed, a signal sent to her people, carrying the knowledge of love she'd found, not in scans but in us. The collector never returned, its threat gone, and Fux stayed. We rebuilt a life, not in the castle, but in the world, together. I wasn't alone anymore, and for the first time, I wasn't afraid to jump.